M4 Sherman tank. Imagine taking a sword to a gunfight and winning in 1967. World War II ghosts rose to face Soviet power. Hulls forged in 1940s Detroit, reborn in secret workshops, challenged the modern T-55. On paper, it was a massacre. In reality, a legend. The Sherman wasn't just a tank, it was a 70-year middle finger to the very concept of being obsolete. The M4 Sherman was designed for mass production in 1941. American factories built nearly 50,000 units by mid-1945. The design prioritized logistical simplicity and reliability over raw power. Factories like Detroit Tank Arsenal produced thousands of these vehicles. Standardized parts allowed mechanics to repair tanks in the field. However, the Sherman faced significant challenges during World War II. Its armor was thin compared to German Tigers and Panthers. The original 75mm gun struggled against heavy enemy frontal plating. Gasoline engines caused early models to catch fire when hit. Crews nicknamed them Ronsons because they lit every single time. Despite these flaws, the Sherman helped win the global conflict. When the war ended, thousands of tanks became military surplus. Planners considered the M4 obsolete as newer designs took over. Many vehicles were scrapped or left to rust in depots. The Sherman seemed destined to become a forgotten historical relic. Instead, the tank entered a long period of global service. The Korean War resurrection. In 1950, North Korean forces invaded with Soviet T-34 tanks. American occupation forces in Japan lacked modern heavy armor units. Officers found 58 M4A3E8 Shermans in various states of repair. These EZ-8 variants featured improved suspension and 76mm guns. Hastily assembled crews shipped the aging tanks to South Korea. The Sherman and T-34 finally met in intense armored combat. The Sherman proved it could still defeat frontline Soviet armor. Superior American optics allowed gunners to hit targets much faster. Better crew coordination gave the five-man teams a tactical edge. Shermans destroyed dozens of enemy tanks throughout the Pusan perimeter. The conflict proved that well-trained crews could use older gear. By war's end, over 600 Shermans served. On the peninsula, the tank was no longer considered a useless wartime leftover. It had earned a second life as a reliable infantry weapon. The Israeli Super Sherman, the most dramatic transformation, occurred in the Middle East. Israel acquired its first Sherman by improvising during May 1948. Agents searched European scrapyards for hulls sold as agricultural gear. Mechanics rebuilt hundreds of tanks from rusted, abandoned Italian hulks. By the 1950s, Israel faced modern Soviet tanks from neighbors. The original American guns could not penetrate thick T-54 armor. Israeli engineers decided to upgrade the hulls with French weapons. They mounted high-velocity 75mm guns to create the M50 model. Later, they fitted massive 105mm cannons into the small turrets. This radical modification created the powerful M51 Super Sherman. Mounting such a large gun required massive muzzle brake systems. The M51 could now destroy the most modern Soviet tanks. In 1967, these relics faced superior forces in the desert. During the Six-Day War, Shermans led many decisive armored charges. At Abu Agala, they broke through heavily fortified Egyptian lines. The tank crews relied on superior training and tactical creativity. They proved that a 20-year-old tank could still dominate battle. By 1973, however, the Sherman reached its technical breaking point. During the Yom Kippur War, new missiles, caused heavy losses. The aging armor could not stop modern shape-char warhead hits. The IDF began phasing the Sherman out of frontline service. Many were sold or given to various allied militia groups. The Israeli chapter proved the Sherman was incredibly adaptable hardware. Service in South America. The Sherman found its final home in South American nations. Chile and Argentina both operated modified versions. During the 1970s, tensions rose over a border dispute in the Beagle Channel. Chile used Israeli-modified M51s to guard its mountain passes. Argentina upgraded their British Fireflies with French 105mm guns. These ripotenciado models featured new DIE SEL engines and improved tracks. Two nations nearly fought a war using World War II hulls. Fortunately, PayPal mediation prevented the conflict from turning into combat. The tanks remained in active service for several more decades. Chile finally retired its fleet at the turn of the century. Paraguay kept 3 Sherman tanks operational until the year 2018. They served in the Presidential Escort Regiment for ceremonial duties. A tank designed in 1941 served for over 70 years. This longevity is a testament to the original American engineering, a legacy of utility. The Sherman was never the most powerful thing on paper. It lacked the heavy armor of its many German rifles. Its primary weapon often struggled against the thickest steel plates. But the Sherman was easy to build and easy to fix. Its standardized parts created a global network of available spares. Mechanics from Israel to Chile could keep the engines running. The hull was spacious enough to accept many different upgrades. It could carry 75mm, 76mm, 90mm, or 105mm caliber cannons. This flexibility allowed it to outlast almost every wartime contemporary. The Sherman succeeded because it was a practical industrial tool. It was a weapon designed for the reality of long wars. Ordinary people could operate it under the most grueling conditions, while more advanced tanks broke down. The Sherman kept rolling. Its story ended in Paraguay. Far from the Detroit factories, the M4 remains the most versatile tank in military history. The Sherman succeeded because it was incredibly practical. Nations with limited budgets loved its simple design. You did not need fancy tools to repair it. Maintenance was easy for any trained local mechanic. Countries bought cheap surplus hulls after the war. They modified them with whatever weapons were available. Israeli shops proved what determined people could achieve. They fit French guns into small American turrets. Commercial truck engines replaced older aircraft power plants. The Sherman became a flexible platform for innovation. In 1965, India and Pakistan used these tanks. At Asal Uttar, Indian Shermans faced modern Pattons. The Pattons had better armor and bigger guns. Indian commanders used the terrain to trap them. They flooded fields to turn soil into deep mud. Shermans fired from hidden spots at very close range. They mammoth. Nearly 100 Pakistani tanks were eventually destroyed. This battle proved that tactics matter more than specs. A well-led unit can win with older equipment. The Sherman was never meant to be exceptional. American designers focused on reliability and massive production. This made the tank easy for anyone to use. It outlasted complex German tanks like the Tiger. While others became obsolete, the Sherman just adapted. It served in Korea, Israel, India, and Chile. Vehicles built for one war found many others. It is a story of survival through constant change. The quality of American steel held up for decades. In 2018, the last Shermans finally left surface. They served for over 70 years across the globe. This history shows the power of mechanical ingenuity. The best weapons are those that keep working. Official plans rarely predict how tools are used. Mechanics and crews turned relics into deadly machines. Their hard work kept these old tanks in battle. The Sherman remains a legend of military flexibility. Thank you for exploring this history with us today. Please like and subscribe for more untold stories.